What's up guys, Matt here with Khaos Art. Welcome to another Photoshop tutorial. In this video today, you are going to be learning how to do light rays. Much excitement. No, really, you're going to be learning how to do your light rays. I'm sure most of you have seen it in lots of Apple products. They have this sort of design or aspect in a lot of like their logos and things. You can see it right here on the screen that it's really just a light ray effect. I searched YouTube a couple days ago just for hours on end trying to find this effect. Nowhere to be found. You can type it in like Apple logo design or light rays effect Photoshop. All I was able to find are just very, very outdated versions. And they're not saying they're bad videos, but I was able to come up with a technique myself that's a lot more efficient and I guess you could say better. But let's go ahead and jump into this. First thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and create a new file. Just either command in or file new. Either way works. This is what my setup is going to be right here. It's quite large just for the fact of I'm doing a tutorial so you can really see everything, and I'm going to be using this later, so I need it to be huge. So just press OK. Alright, so first thing you're going to want to do is select two colors. The two colors that I chose are Chaos Blue and this very light electric blue. So you're going to want a light color and a dark color. The reason is your dark colors are going to be your base, the light colors are going to be your highlights. So you're going to have shadows and highlights. And with your highlights, you want it to be very like close to white, but you also want it to complement your color. If you chose two completely different colors like red and yellow, could work. Not saying it's impossible. But you would really have to have, your reds would obviously be your base and your yellows would obviously be your highlights, but you want to have complementary colors so they work and look very well. So just make sure that you have two colors selected. They need to be your swatches down here because that is going to be what your filters are going to reference to figure out what colors to make your image. So next, once you have your two colors, you are going to want to go to Filter, Render, and then Fibers. What this does is it brings up this menu right here, obviously, but it gives you this like a wood grain or like a fiber effect. That's why it's called fibers. And it generates this for you. And what I generally do is I actually like the one right here, but what I'm going to do is kind of move it around so you can move it. But zoom out. I'm just going to randomize this a couple times, see if I can find one that I really like. I'm trying to get one that doesn't have a lot of really big dark spots, but also doesn't have a lot of really big light spots. So, it looks like this one will work right here just fine for us. It's pretty good evenness in it. There's a lot of light and there's a lot of dark, but it's not like two like massive chunks in it that I need to be weary of. So once you have one that you like, you can always mess with these little sliders down here as well. Just press OK, and it'll generate on your image for you. Now what you want to do is go back up to Filter, then go to, it is Blur. You're going to go to Motion Blur, and you'll get this. For the most part, you probably won't start off with it on 2000 pixels for your distance. It'll probably be somewhere around here, and you'll get that effect. That would actually work. It wouldn't be as effective though. So if you're trying to do this and just have something else, you can always mess around with it and figure out what you really want. But for the fact of what we're doing right now, trying to get this light ray effect, you want it to be on 2000. So you have very straight vertical lines. They're just even streaks. They look very nice, and it'll give us a really good product. So just press OK. And then now what you want to do is unlock your layer. So if you have it on your background layer like I do, you can just double click it and rename it. Just background. And now it's an unlocked layer. You can do anything with it. And next what you want to do is go up to Filter, go to Distort, and Polar Coordinates. So once you do Polar Coordinates, you'll see that it brings up this right here, and it is exactly what we want. You can zoom out and see the whole thing. If you go to Polar to Rectangular, you'll see that it's nowhere near. It almost looks like two giant eyes. It's very odd. But Rectangular to Polar is what we're going to be wanting. Just press OK. And there we go. So for the most part, we're done. But there's a few other effects that I want to do to this to get it looking right. So now I just want to create another layer, just a blank layer, drag it down to the bottom, go to your ellipse tool. U on your keyboard is the hotkey. You can just go to ellipse right here. And we're also going to want to set up some guides. So you can just press Command R or Control R to set up your rulers, and then you can just select your rulers and bring it down to set up your guides in the center of your image. And I'm going to be holding down Option and Shift, which is also Alt and Shift on the Windows, and just selecting the center, and it'll give me a perfect circle coming out of the center. So just try to get it as far to the edge as you can. About there will be good for me. And now it's called Ellipse 1. So what you're going to do with this is just leave it there, but you're going to want to mask the background image onto your ellipse. So to do that, you're going to want to hold down Alt or Option and click between the layers. You'll get this little icon right here that you can see where my mouse is. And now it's saying to unmask it, but it would look exactly the same without that little line over it. So now this is masked over your circle. So the only place this is going to show up is on the circle. Now that you have this, you want to go into your ellipse options, the blending options, go to gradient overlay, change it from linear to radial, and select a light and a dark color. Preferably the same colors will work the best for you. I'm going to just change my black to the light that I had, but I'm going to darken it a little bit. And then I'm going to change the white to the dark that I had, which I know the color for that. And I'm going to lighten it a little bit. So you don't want it to be exactly the same as what you chose before, but you definitely want it to be similar. So now you can see the mask is still applied, but it's not working on the ellipse. So what you want to do with this is right click and go to rasterize layer style. When you do this, you will not be able to edit it. You can go back into your blending options and redo the gradient overlay and re-rasterize it, or you can convert it to a smart object, but you'll have to go to an external source to be able to edit it. So either option is both useful, but at the same time it'll be a little bit time consuming to do either one. Converting to a smart object would be a safer way to do it, but for the speed and technique of this, I'm just going to rasterize the layer style. Alright, and so now you see that the ellipse and the mask are both working. With the background image, I'm just going to change it from 100% to 20% opacity. And that's a little bit light for me, so let me bump it up to 30%. There we go, looks a little bit better. And next we're going to add a curves. So if you've used curves before, you probably already understand what it does. For you that haven't, what curves does is it allows you to edit the brightness and darkness of your image and edit the colors. So much like hue and saturation, it works that way, but it's a lot safer in the way that you can go in and edit it, because hue and saturation is permanent, curves are not, because it's just a separate layer. So you have your options down here for your layers. I'm going to go up here to curves right below levels, and there we go. I'm going to mask this onto my background image. We're going to go up here to auto, and you can see what that did right there. It lines it up and it gives you a lot of contrast. What I'm going to do is go to the presets, and I'm going to change it to increase contrast. You can see that it changed it slightly, a little bit more. It just gives you a little bit more of a contrast between them. You can go in and really mess with each one of these and see what they do. You can always do darker, give you a darker effect. You can do lighter, linear contrast, medium contrast, negative, obviously you don't want that, and strong contrast. So I'm actually going to change it to go to strong contrast. It actually gave me a little bit better picture than I expected. So even with this tutorial, you can see you just mess around with it and kind of figure out how yours is working, because with every color it's going to work a little bit different. Let's go ahead and close that. Now what you're going to want to do is create the circle to surround it. So as you can see in this one, I have a circle surrounding this with a little glow on it, like a little black inner shadow going on. So we're going to want to do a new layer on top, and it's going to be an ellipse. Same thing, we're going to hold down Alt and Shift after we click. Give me a perfect circle. Go all the way out to the edges on this one, try to get as close as you can. Alright, and then we're going to have to create another one. Same thing, new layer, ellipse. And As you can see here, you can see the edge of the first one and the edge of the new one that we're making. The closer you make the edges, the smaller your circle is going to be. So the distance between your two circles is what the edge, how big it's going to be. And with this, I'm going to do it about there. So it's not too big, not too small. And you can't really, I mean, nothing happened, to be honest. You can't really see anything, and they're two separate layers. It's a little technique that I learned not too long ago. You're going to select both of your layers, both of the ellipses that you just made. Right click. You're going to merge shapes. Then you can see that they are now one image, but there are two different lines right here. Select A on your keyboard. This is your path selection tool, and what this does is allows you to edit the paths that were made with the shapes or your pen tool. And I'm going to select the inner circle. I'm going to hold down Shift, select each corner, because there are 4 different edges. And now I have this entire inner circle selected. I'm going to go up here to my options, where it's now on combine shapes. I'm going to do it to subtract from shapes. And there we go. I removed the inner circle to the point of where the only thing showing is the outer circle, the very edge where it wasn't being covered. So now that we have this, it is still a vectorized image, so you can change the size of it if you need to. And I'm just going to rename this to border. And I'm going to double click the icon right beside it to be able to edit the color. Let's change this to white. Press OK, and we're done. Rename this to background, G-R-O-U-N-D, image. There we go. And we are almost done. So now that you have this, what you can do, a little technique that I like to mess around with a little bit, is going to your border, going to gradient overlay, going to from linear to radial, going to the gradient, bringing the gradient up to about 50. Make sure you're bringing the black up to 50. Double clicking that and making it a little bit lighter. So maybe 2 or 3 shades lighter. Press OK, OK, and OK. And what that did is it gives it a slight gradient from the inside to the outside from darker to lighter. It's very subtle, but it gives your image a lot of character. It gives it a lot more to look at, and it's something that you may not notice initially, but the more you look at it, you'll start to notice it and see there's a lot more dynamic works going on inside of the image. So now that we have this, we're almost done. Next thing that we're going to want to do is create another layer. We're going to name this one to gloss. This part is completely optional. If you're happy with what you have here, thanks for watching. But what I'm going to be doing now is creating this glossy effect that you can see on this one, where it comes right down across the middle right there. It looks nice, gives it a little bit of a more rounded look, and I think it looks good myself. So let's go ahead and go to the second one. Gloss. Go back to your ellipse tool, and just click anywhere, and try to get it as centered as possible. Well, it really doesn't matter because we're going to center it ourselves, but do it about there. Alright, so now you're going to want to go to your Marquee Tool, M on your keyboard for the hotkey. It's just the square up here. Select anywhere outside of the square, preferably up near the corner, so you can select the entire image. Then you're going to want to go to your Selector tool and use these options up here. What these are going to allow you to do is to center the layer that you have selected. So I'm going to center with this one and center with this one. So that we have that, the circle is completely centered, but it looks kind of funky. So what I'm going to do is make sure I have the gloss layer selected and move it up. Move it up till it's about a center right there. It looks good. And this way we're going to be able to mask this over the image, and we'll have it centered perfectly to where it looks like it's coming out at you more like a sphere instead of a flat image. So drag this layer between border and your curves. We're going to mask this to curves. You're going to hold down Alt or Option. Alright, so now this is masked just to where curves is affecting, which is affecting that, which is affecting the circle. Lots of weird masking going on in this video. And we're going to change this from blue to white. Press OK. And then what you're going to do is take down the opacity from about 100% to around 20 or 30%. Let's put that on 30. Bump it up just a little bit more. It's not quite bright enough. See what 40 looks like. A little bit too bright. It's something you kind of need to mess around with, see what you can come up with. One trick I did learn with this is to go to the blending options, gradient overlay, reverse, and it gives it a little bit better look to it. It goes from dark to light, so it gives you a little bit more room to work with. Let's bump it up to 35. There we go. Looks great. So now you can see it looks a little bit better. It gives you a little bit more of a glossed look, and that was the whole thing that we were trying to go for. So it's just one of those things you kind of need to play around with and see what you can come up with. So now that we have this, we are done. So I guess that's going to be it, guys. You can always do the inner shadow if you want to on the lights. All you have to do is go to your background layer right here. Oh, excuse me. All you have to do is go to the sphere layer down here and do inner glow, black. Change from screen to hard light, and just bring up your size. You can always mess with the choke a little bit. Bring this one up to about 120. And then bring up your choke maybe to about 10 or 12. There's 15. It's also one of those things, completely optional. You can mess around with it. Gives you a little bit more of that spherical look that you're trying to go for. So thank you for watching, guys. I really hope this helped you out a lot. I know it was kind of a long video and I was going really fast, but there was a lot to cover in this one, and I really hope it works for you. Thank you for watching. I appreciate all your support, and just let me know what you think.